The Zevra Empire was famous across many star systems for its shining towers, floating gardens, and peaceful skies. Every building in the capital city seemed to glow with soft colors that changed like slow-moving rainbows. But the most beautiful structure of all was the Crystal Palace, home of the emperor and the heart of the entire empire. Many visitors traveled far distances just to see it sparkle under the twin suns. Inside this grand palace lived a creature that every citizen respected and admired, a great dragon named Sarilith. He was unlike any dragon found in old Earth stories. His scales shimmered like silver water, and when he moved, they made soft musical tones, almost like tiny bells. His wings carried patterns that changed depending on his emotions, and his eyes were gentle, warm, and full of ancient wisdom. He was the emperor's companion, guardian, and trusted friend. Many believed the empire itself grew stronger, simply because Sarilith lived within its palace walls. But even the brightest place can hide a quiet sadness. Every night, when the two suns fell below the horizon and the palace lights dimmed, Sarilith cried. His tears were not loud. They did not echo through the halls like storms or shake the ground. Instead, they sounded like soft drops falling into still water. Many guests who stayed overnight never even heard them, but those who lived in the palace, especially the emperor, heard the quiet sorrow night after night. It puzzled everyone. Sarilith was not hurt. He was healthy, respected, and surrounded by comfort. Yet, at the same time every night, the gentle dragon lowered his head and cried, until the first light of morning touched the palace windows. The emperor tried everything he could think of. He invited healers from distant planets, experts of energy flow, mind balance, emotion reading, sound therapy, and even cosmic harmony guidance. Every specialist examined Sarilith with care and kindness. They spoke softly, offered gentle music, warm light, and comforting scents. Some even tried to speak directly with his mind, but none of them discovered the reason for the dragon's tears. They left the palace with polite bows and quiet apologies, unable to help. This made the emperor feel helpless. He cared deeply for Sarilith. The dragon had been with him since he was young, long before he ever wore the crown. To see his dear friend sad each night made the emperor's heart grow heavy. Yet there seemed to be no answer, no clue to guide them. Then, one ordinary morning, something small changed, something no one thought was important. A ship from Earth arrived, bringing new palace staff and helpers from different planets. Among them was a simple, kind-hearted human maid named Leora. She was young, calm, and gentle, with a warm smile that made people feel at ease. She did not come from a famous family or have advanced knowledge. She had grown up in a small town on Earth, where she learned to work hard, stay patient, and care for others with kindness. The palace staff guided her through the large halls, showing her where to clean, where to bring fresh towels, how to handle the floating dishes in the dining rooms, and how to speak politely when passing noble guests. Leora listened carefully, nodding each time. She was humble and grateful for the opportunity to work in such a beautiful place. However, while walking through the palace, she noticed something the others barely thought about: the quiet spaces, the soft lights, the small details that showed someone had tried very hard to keep everything peaceful, even if they did not know how to fix one particular sadness. She also noticed the large doors leading to Sarilith's chamber. They were tall, decorated with silver lines that formed shapes similar to wings. Most staff passed by these doors without much thought. But Leora paused. She did not know why. But something about the room felt important. She sensed a gentle presence behind the doors, not frightening or powerful, but full of quiet emotion. Later that evening, when her work for the day was almost finished, she heard other workers talking quietly. "Did you hear it again last night?" one asked. "Yes," another replied softly. "The dragon cried again." "It makes my heart feel heavy," someone whispered. "But the emperor says no one should disturb him. They still don't know how to help." Leora listened in silence. She did not know this dragon, but she felt a strange warmth in her chest. She remembered her childhood pet on Earth, a small bird who would cry softly when left alone at night. She remembered comforting it with gentle humming until it calmed down. Of course, a dragon was nothing like a small bird. But sadness. Sadness was the same no matter the size of the creature. The next morning, while she carried folded linens through the palace, she passed Sarilith's doors again. They were slightly open today. A soft breeze of cool air drifted out. She hesitated, her hands tightened around the linens. She was not supposed to look inside. She knew that. Yet her curiosity was gentle, not disrespectful. She stepped closer, just one small step, and peeked through the opening. Inside, she saw him. Sarilith lay curled in the vast chamber, surrounded by soft, glowing crystals. His wings rested on the ground like folded curtains of light. His eyes were open, clear, and wise and tired. He looked calm but lonely, like someone carrying a feeling too heavy to share. Leora did not enter. She simply stood at the doorway, still and quiet. She did not want to bother him. She only wanted to understand what everyone else seemed to miss. For a brief moment, Sarilith's eyes moved toward the door. Leora gasped softly and lowered her head in respect. She thought he might ignore her, or simply look away. But instead, the dragon blinked slowly, as if acknowledging her presence. It was not a greeting exactly, but more of a gentle notice like a soft light turning on. She whispered, "Good morning." Even though she knew he might not understand human speech, Sarilith gave no loud reaction. But his tail made a small, calm movement across the floor. Not a sign of anger. Not a warning. Just a simple motion, like a quiet sigh. Leora smiled a little and continued her work. She made sure not to stay long, because she did not want the Emperor or the other staff to think she was intruding. But as she walked away, she carried a soft feeling with her like a tiny spark of understanding. As days passed, Leora kept noticing more small things that others ignored. Sarilith appeared more relaxed in the mornings, but the sadness stayed hidden behind his calm face. She watched how the palace workers hurried past him, focused on their tasks. They respected him, but they treated him like a symbol, not a living being with feelings. Leora, however, thought differently. She believed that even powerful beings needed simple comfort. She believed that kindness was not about solving every problem, it was about being present, paying attention, and caring quietly. One evening, when she was folding towels in a corner near the dragon's chamber, she heard the first soft sound of Sarilith's nightly tears. It was gentle, like rain tapping on glass. Nobody else was in the hallway. No nobles, no guards, no advisors. Only Leora. She froze for a moment, her heart tightening. The sound was not frightening, it was heartbreaking. She whispered to herself, "He feels alone." She did not know how she knew. She simply felt it. That night, she made a quiet promise in her mind. Even if she did not have special knowledge or advanced tools, she would try just a little to bring comfort to the lonely dragon. Not by breaking rules or entering forbidden places, but through small, gentle actions that came from the heart. And with that simple promise, something in the palace shifted, something small and unnoticed, yet full of quiet hope. Leora did not know it yet, and neither did the Emperor. But the first step toward changing Sarilith's sorrow had already begun. Leora woke early every morning, just as the first soft light of the twin suns brushed the crystal windows of the palace. She liked these quiet moments. The halls were still, the air cool, and the colors gentle. It made her feel calm before her busy day began. She always started her tasks with care, dusting the long railings, folding the shimmering cloths used by the palace guests, and organizing the floating dishes that sometimes drifted away if they weren't guided properly. But even as she worked, her thoughts often wandered to the great dragon who lived in the East Chamber. She wondered if he had cried again. She wondered if he slept enough. She wondered if anyone else noticed the small details that she did. Leora had no special training, no advanced tools, no magical knowledge. Yet she had something many people overlooked: patience, quiet understanding, and the habit of watching carefully rather than rushing. That morning, when she reached the hallway near Sarilith's chamber, she slowed her steps. She wasn't trying to be secretive. She simply felt that respect required gentleness, not noise. The doors were closed today, but she sensed the dragon's presence on the other side. Not heavy or threatening, just quiet. Like someone waking from a long night of thought, she whispered her usual greeting, "Good morning, Sarilith," even though she knew he might not hear it. Still, saying the words felt right. Kindness didn't need to be noticed to matter. As she walked away, she saw the Emperor's advisor, a tall Zevran named Reller, approaching. He always looked important, with long robes that shimmered like moving silver threads. He nodded politely at Leora. "Good morning. I see you are becoming familiar with your duties." "Yes, sir," she said with a respectful bow. Reller glanced at Sarilith's door before speaking again. "The Emperor is troubled. The dragon cried again last night. He hopes that soon someone will discover the reason." Leora's heart softened. She wished she could tell Reller what she suspected, that Sarilith cried because he felt alone. Not because something was wrong with his body or his energy, but she knew her opinion might not be taken seriously. After all, she was just a simple maid who had only lived in the palace for a short time. Even so, she didn't feel discouraged. She believed that even small people could help in quiet ways. A small beginning. Later that day, while she was folding cleaning cloths, she had an idea. It came suddenly, like a warm light in her thoughts. It wasn't complicated or grand, but simple, just like most of her ideas. She carefully took one of the soft paper sheets that the palace used for memorandums. With gentle fingers, she began folding it into a shape. It wasn't perfect, but it was meaningful. It was a small star, the kind she used to make as a child whenever she wanted to comfort someone. Humans made these stars on Earth during celebrations or good luck wishes. To Leora, they always felt warm, friendly, and hopeful. She looked at the finished star and smiled. "Maybe," she whispered to herself, "maybe he will like this." I. She wasn't trying to fix the dragon's sadness. She only wanted him to know that someone noticed him. Someone cared in a quiet way. That evening, when she passed by Sarilith's door, she gently placed the little star on the floor, just inside the doorway. She didn't step further. She didn't try to speak or explain. She simply left the small gift where he could see it when he woke. Then she walked away. A gentle response. The next morning, Leora arrived with her cleaning supplies and moved through her usual tasks. But as she approached Sarilith's chamber, she stopped. The paper star was gone. Not on the floor, not tucked behind the door, not blown away by a breeze. It was simply gone. Her heart fluttered with quiet joy. She didn't know what he did with it, but the fact that it wasn't there anymore meant only one thing. Sarilith had noticed it. She whispered again, "Good morning," feeling braver this time. The door to the chamber was slightly open. Only a little, but enough for her to see a silver glow reflecting inside, and enough for Sarilith to see her if he wanted to. She stood respectfully, smiling softly, and then continued on her way. That night, when she finished her work and the palace was quiet, she heard the familiar soft sound of Sarilith's tears. But something was different. The sound wasn't as long or as heavy. It was still sad, but there was a gentler tone to it, like someone who felt a little less alone. Leora placed another small star the next day. Then another. Each made from different papers. Golden, blue, soft white. Even one shaped like a tiny flower. She never left them inside his room, only at the door. She didn't want to disturb him. Days passed. The stars continued disappearing one by one, and Sarilith's morning posture slowly changed. He held his head a little higher. His wings rested more calmly. His eyes looked softer. People around the palace began to notice. "He seems more peaceful," the guards whispered. "He looks stronger in the mornings," a healer said. "Maybe the sadness is fading," another suggested. Hopeful, but no one knew why. No one except Leora noticed the small paper gifts that came and went. A quiet meeting. One morning, Leora was carrying fresh towels down the east hallway when she felt something unusual, a soft breeze. Even though the palace air vents were silent, she turned her head and saw it. the door to Serelith's chamber opening wider. Slowly, calmly, she froze, not from fear, but from respect. Then she saw him. Serelith lowered his head gently, his silver scales glowing faintly. His eyes looked calm, curious, even thankful. Leora bowed deeply. "Hello," she whispered. "I hope you liked the stars." The dragon blinked slowly, then moved his wing just enough for her to see something beside him on the ground. Her breath caught. There, nestled carefully between glowing crystals, were all the paper stars she had made, each one saved. Each one placed softly in a little curved shape like a nest or a collection of treasures. She felt warmth rise in her chest, the kind that comes only from kindness being returned. Serelith wasn't just noticing the stars, he was keeping them. He understood. Leora didn't step closer. She didn't reach out her hand or speak loudly. She knew dragons were sensitive creatures, and she respected his space. But she let her smile show fully. "I'm happy," she whispered. "I'm glad they brought you even a little comfort." Serelith made a soft musical sound, a gentle hum, like the faint ring of distant bells. It was beautiful, peaceful, and full of quiet meaning. It was the first sound of happiness he had made in a very long time. The palace begins to wonder. As days turned into a week, word spread quietly through the palace that Serelith seemed calmer. He still cried at night, but the crying lasted shorter. The sadness was lighter. His energy felt warmer. The emperor noticed too. He stood beside the dragon one morning, looking confused but hopeful. "You seem different, old friend," he said softly. "Something is helping you, but I do not know what." Leora, passing by in the distance, heard these words, but said nothing. She didn't want credit. She didn't want reward. She only wanted the great dragon to feel less alone. Humans, she believed, did not always need special power to make a difference. Sometimes, the smallest act could change a heart, a new kind of care. Leora continued her gentle approach. She didn't rush, she didn't push. Every day, she left small things. Sometimes a folded star, sometimes a small drawing of a flower, sometimes a peaceful note like, "You are not alone tonight." She always placed them with respect, and every single one disappeared by morning. Soon, Serelith began opening the door a little wider whenever she passed by. Not enough for others to notice, but enough for her to see that he welcomed her presence. She would bow, smile, and whisper, "I hope you rest well tonight," and the dragon would hum softly, as though answering. For the first time in many years, Serelith had a new pattern in his quiet life, a kind human with gentle hands and a warm heart. And for the first time in many years, the palace carried a small, hopeful glow in its air, one that even the emperor could sense, but not yet understand. Leora didn't know it, but her simple acts were leading the empire toward a moment that would amaze everyone, including the emperor himself. The Crystal Palace had changed in a quiet, but noticeable way. The halls felt lighter, the air felt warmer, and even the soft lights on the walls seemed to shine with a gentler glow. Many people believed the palace itself was feeling more peaceful, though no one understood why. Only Leora and Serelith knew the true reason. Their silent friendship had begun to grow. Every morning, Leora would greet the dragon with a soft bow and a smile. Every evening, she left a small gift, another folded star, a gentle drawing, or a simple note wishing him rest. Serelith responded with small gestures, a calm hum, a slow blink, or by opening his door slightly when she passed. But even with this progress, the dragon still cried at night. Not as long as before, not as deeply, but the sadness remained. Something inside him still felt incomplete. Leora sensed this, and though she was happy to see his mornings brighter, she wished she could help him find peace, even in the quiet darkness. The emperor grows curious. One morning, as Leora was polishing the crystal railings in the East Hall, the emperor himself approached. He was not surrounded by guards today, only by the soft flow of his royal robes. His eyes looked thoughtful, gentle, and tired perhaps from many sleepless nights spent worrying about Serelith. He stopped beside Leora and spoke kindly. "You are new to the palace," he said. Tell me, have you noticed anything unusual? The dragon seems calmer lately, and I cannot discover why. Leora hesitated. She did not want to take credit or seem like she was interfering with royal matters. But she also believed honesty was important. She bowed respectfully. Your Majesty, I do not know if it is important, but I try to give Serelith small gifts each day. Just simple things. I think he appreciates them. The Emperor blinked with surprise. Simple things? He repeated. Like what? Paper stars, drawings, little wishes for him to rest well. I place them at the door, so he knows someone thinks of him. The Emperor looked deeply moved, though he tried to stay formal. And he accepts these gifts? He keeps them, Leora said softly. All of them. For a long moment, the Emperor did not speak. His eyes grew thoughtful as he processed this strange but touching information. I see, he said gently. Perhaps we have been trying too hard to use grand methods, when what he needed was something simple. Leora bowed again. I only do what feels right. Then continue, the Emperor said. Your quiet kindness may be the key we have been missing. A night of unexpected change. That same evening, Leora finished her work earlier than usual. She decided to spend a little time sitting near the door of Serelith's chamber, not inside, just close enough for him to sense her presence. She did not hum too loudly, only a soft, gentle tune her mother used to sing on earth. It was a peaceful melody, simple and warm. She did not know that Serelith heard every note. Inside the chamber, the great dragon lifted his head. His eyes shimmered softly as the melody floated across the doorway, like a calming breeze. He had never heard human songs before. They were gentle, emotional, and full of a quiet honesty that touched his ancient heart in a new way. He moved his wings slightly, letting the patterns shift into soft blue tones, the color of comfort. Leora did not see this, but she felt something warm in the air, as if the dragon was responding with silent gratitude. The Emperor observes in secret. Unbeknownst to Leora, the Emperor walked down the hallway that same night. He often checked on Serelith before resting, but tonight, he paused when he saw Leora seated near the chamber door, humming softly. He hid behind a pillar, not wanting to interrupt. As he listened, he saw something remarkable inside the dragon's room. Serelith, who usually curled in sadness at this hour, was sitting upright. His wings relaxed, his eyes calm. The soft tears that often began by now did not fall. Instead, he listened, the Emperor's heart filled with wonder. Could it truly be this simple human maid, the one no one noticed, the one whose kindness cost nothing, who had reached the dragon in a way no scholar or healer had? He stepped forward quietly. Leora, he said gently. She gasped and stood quickly, bowing deeply. I am sorry, Your Majesty. I did not mean to disturb. You disturbed nothing, he said with a warm smile. In fact, I believe you may be the only one in this palace who has truly reached him. Serelith, hearing the Emperor's voice, lowered his head respectfully. Then his gaze returned to Leora. The Emperor looked between them, astonished at the quiet connection they shared. Will you, he asked softly, stay a little longer? I would like to see how he responds. Leora nodded. A harmony long forgotten. She sat again near the doorway, humming the same soft tune. The Emperor sat a short distance away, watching closely. As the sound drifted through the chamber, Serelith lifted his head higher. His wings glowed faint silver. Then, to the surprise of everyone, including himself, the dragon opened his mouth and released a soft, musical vibration. It wasn't loud, it wasn't fierce, it was gentle and warm, like the hum of a distant crystal. The Emperor gasped quietly. That sound. Serelith has not made that tone since he was young. Leora looked amazed. What does it mean? It is a sign of comfort, a rare tone. A dragon's way of saying, he feels safe. The vibration continued, slowly growing brighter, until the crystals around Serelith lit up with soft colors. The palace had never seen anything like it. Leora's voice trembled with emotion. He feels safe? The Emperor nodded. Because of you. Serelith closed his eyes and released another tone, longer this time. harmonizing with Leora's quiet humming. The melodies blended peacefully, forming a beautiful pattern of sound that echoed softly through the hall. It was not magic. It was not technology. It was connection. A connection built from simple kindness. The truth behind the sadness. After the melody faded, Leora spoke softly. "Your Majesty, may I ask something?" "Of course. Why does he cry at night?" "Has anyone ever asked him directly?" The Emperor sighed deeply. "We tried many times. Scholars attempted mind communication. But dragons only open their minds to those they trust. I fear Sarilith has felt alone for a long time, even beside me." Leora looked into the chamber and saw Sarilith watching her quietly, as if wishing to speak but unable to form words. "I think," she said gently, "he cries because he feels unseen. Not unloved but unnoticed. Maybe he wanted someone to sit with him, even for a moment, without asking him to be strong." The Emperor grew silent. Her words touched something deep inside him. "Then you have given him what I could not," he said quietly. "You gave him your presence." Leora shook her head gently. "I only sat by his door. And yet," the Emperor replied, "that was enough to begin healing his heart. A transformation begins." From that night on, the Emperor encouraged Leora to spend time near the dragon if she wished. Not as a duty, but as a special role. The palace began to recognize someone who understood emotional comfort in a way others could not. Every evening, she hummed soft tunes. Every morning, Sarilith greeted her with a calm, warm look. And every night, his crying slowly grew quieter. The palace healers noticed. The advisors noticed. Even the guards noticed. But what amazed everyone most was the new sound Sarilith made almost every day, a gentle, happy hum, similar to a lullaby. A sound no one had heard from him in many years. A sound awakened by a human maid. And though the Empire did not yet know it, Sarilith's true transformation was only beginning. Something inside him was unlocking something ancient and powerful. Something tied to connection and harmony. And Leora would soon be the key to a revelation that would astonish the entire palace and change the future of the Zevra Empire forever. The Crystal Palace felt brighter than ever. Every corner carried a soft glow, and even the walls seemed to hum with gentle warmth. Word had spread quietly through the Empire. The dragon Sarilith, who once cried every night, had begun to show signs of deep peace, but no one understood the full truth. No one except the Emperor, the dragon himself, and the human maid, whose kindness changed everything. Leora continued her daily routine with the same calm dedication she had since the beginning. She folded towels, polished glowing railings, arranged floating dishes, and kept the halls spotless. But now, she also carried a new responsibility. One that came not from her job title, but from the heart she had shared with the great dragon. Every evening, she sat near Sarilith's chamber door, humming soft tunes or reading simple stories aloud. These stories were not complex. Some were from Earth, some she made up herself. They spoke of friendships, small joys, warm moments, and gentle dreams. And each night, Sarilith listened with the same peaceful focus. The Emperor would sometimes stand quietly at the end of the hall, watching the scene with soft eyes. He did not interrupt. He did not demand explanations. He simply let the bond grow, grateful for the miracle unfolding before him. A day of calm beauty. One morning, Leora arrived to find the chamber door fully open for the first time. She gasped softly, surprised but touched by the silent invitation. Inside, Sarilith was waiting, not curled in sadness, but sitting tall with wings folded neatly at his sides. His scales shimmered in soft colors of blue and silver, and his eyes warmed when he saw her. She stepped forward slowly, with deep respect. "Good morning, Sarilith," she said gently. The dragon lowered his head in greeting. At his side, carefully placed in a neat pattern, were every folded star she had ever made for him. They formed a small, crescent shape, like a moon made of kindness. Leora felt her heart swell. She never imagined that something so small could become so meaningful to a creature so grand. She touched her chest and smiled. "Thank you for keeping them." Serylith responded with a warm hum, a note so soft and gentle that nearby crystals glowed faintly in the same rhythm. It was a peaceful moment, one that needed no words. The Emperor's important request. Later that afternoon, the Emperor summoned Leora to a quiet balcony overlooking the palace gardens. He stood beside the railing, the twin suns shining behind him, turning his robes a soft golden color. Leora bowed respectfully. "You wish to see me, Your Majesty?" "Yes," he said with a warm smile. "I have watched you these past weeks. You have shown patience, understanding, and a heart deeply open to others. Serylith has changed because of you, and I believe the Empire must learn from this." She looked confused. "Learn? From me?" The Emperor nodded. "From your example. You taught us that advanced tools, complex knowledge, and strong power are not always the answer. Sometimes, the greatest healing comes from simple kindness." Leora felt shy. "I only did what felt right. Anyone could have done the same." The Emperor shook his head gently. "Perhaps, but only you did. And for that reason, I have a request." She straightened, curious but nervous. "What kind of request, Your Majesty?" "I want you," he said, "to become the human ambassador of well-being for the Empire." Leora blinked in shock. "Ambassador? But I am only a maid." "You were a maid," the Emperor said kindly, "but you have shown the wisdom of a guide and the heart of a leader. Your role will be simple: to help bridge the understanding between species, to remind us that emotions matter, and to teach our people what true empathy looks like." Leora felt overwhelmed. She never sought power, titles, or recognition. But she saw sincerity in the Emperor's eyes and felt a flutter of hope within her own heart. I will do my best," she said softly. The Emperor smiled. "That is all I ask. A celebration of peace." In the following days, the palace held a ceremony. It was simple, not grand or loud, because the Emperor wished it to reflect the quiet nature of Leora's actions. Representatives from many planets attended. They wore elegant clothing, carried glowing gifts, and spoke in soft, respectful tones. On a raised platform in the central hall, Leora stood nervously beside the Emperor. Serylith stood behind them, tall and beautiful, his wings shimmering with a soft golden light. The crowd watched in awe. Even though dragons rarely appeared in public ceremonies, Serylith insisted on being present. He wanted everyone to see the human who had brought peace to his heart. The Emperor raised his hand. "Citizens of the Zevra Empire," he said warmly, "today, we honor a simple act that taught us a great truth. Healing does not always come from strength. Sometimes, it comes from understanding. Sometimes, from patience. Sometimes, from a kindness so small that many overlook it." He gestured to Leora. This human maid, Leora of Earth, offered comfort to someone who carried sorrow for many years. She did not use advanced tools or ancient knowledge. She used her heart. And tonight, our dragon sings again because of her. Serylith lifted his head and released a soft, beautiful hum. The hall filled with shimmering light. Guests gasped. Some even felt warm tears of joy. Leora bowed shyly, overwhelmed by the attention. But in her heart, she felt peaceful. She knew this moment was not about her alone, it was about the lesson she had shown, a friendship shared with the Empire. After the ceremony, Serylith followed Leora through the palace gardens, walking with slow, gentle steps so she could keep pace. The garden paths glowed under soft lanterns. Floating flowers drifted above ponds, sparkling like tiny stars. Leora sat on a smooth stone bench, and Serylith curled beside her. For the first time, she was close enough to touch his scales. She placed a hand gently against his warm side. He did not move away. Instead, he leaned slightly toward her, as if welcoming the contact. "You are not alone anymore," she whispered. Serylith's hum deepened, soft as a lullaby. The Emperor watched from a distance, his heart full. He realized something important. The human maid had not only comforted the dragon, she had awakened a sense of togetherness in the Empire itself. New horizons, With her new role, Leora began traveling to different parts of the palace, and soon, to different planets, teaching small lessons about emotional care. She encouraged people to listen to one another, to notice small signs of sadness, and to offer simple comfort where they could. Everywhere she went, she carried folded paper stars. She taught children and adults how to make them. She explained that even the smallest gesture could brighten someone's day. Her message spread gently, planet by planet, and Sarilith often accompanied her. Not as a guardian or a symbol of power, but as a friend who had learned the value of connection. Wherever they traveled, people stopped to listen. Not because Leora was important, but because her kindness felt real, and Sarilith, glowing with quiet peace, became a living example of the change her kindness could bring. A future built on kindness. One peaceful afternoon, after many journeys, Leora returned to the Crystal Palace. She walked to the same balcony where the Emperor had once asked her to become an ambassador. Sarilith joined her, spreading his wings to catch the warm light of the setting suns. Leora placed a freshly folded star on the railing. "This," she said softly, "is for new beginnings." The dragon hummed, his wings shimmering. The Emperor soon joined them, smiling warmly. "You have changed more than the dragon," he said. "You have changed the heart of our empire." Leora lowered her eyes modestly. "I only showed what humans can do when they care." "Yes," the Emperor said, "and that is why humans belong in our future. With compassion, patience, and gentle courage." Together, the three of them, Emperor, Dragon, and humble Humyn, looked out at the glowing horizon. The future no longer felt cold or uncertain. It felt hopeful, warm, filled with quiet possibilities. Sarilith, once lonely, now felt surrounded by peace. Leora, once unnoticed, now carried a message that touched entire worlds. And the Empire, once puzzled by sadness, now embraced a new understanding of connection. The dragon who cried every night no longer shed tears of sorrow. Now, his eyes held only calm light. All because a human maid did something simple.